you in shot as well? Good. Yeah, that's fine. I just was concerned. Okay. Good evening and welcome to everybody who is attending this webinar, which is, of course, a ministerial roundtable on Iraq. I'm sorry we are starting a little late, but nonetheless, we've got a terrific panel for you this evening, and I'm going to ask the panel to speak, and then we will go into question time. But I will start by introducing myself. I am Baroness Simons. I'm a member of the House of Lords, but more importantly, I am chairman of the Arab-British Chamber of Commerce. And on my left here is my colleague, Mr. Banda Reda, who is the CEO and the Secretary General of our chamber here. We are enormously proud of Banda. He's done a terrific job for us over the last few years when he's been with us. A really remarkable job. We are very honoured and very pleased to have an excellent panel for you this evening. We have His Excellency Mr. Hassan Al-Sadi, the Minister for Oil. We have His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Jassim, the Minister of Agriculture. And we have Dr. Soha Dawood, the head of the National Investment Commission. And they are all enormously welcome, and we are delighted to have such a distinguished panel. So I'm going to start by asking my colleague, Mr. Banda Reda, if he wants to say a few words or whether we should go straight to our ministerial colleagues. We'll go straight to our ministerial colleagues, and Banda will say a few words a little later. So may I, Your Excellency, Hassan Al-Sadi, as Minister of Oil, ask you if you would be kind enough to make an opening comment for us, or an opening address for our audience. Thank you.
Thank you for arranging this conference or workshop. I'm happy to be here with this fully respected commerce. We are in Iraq starting a new philosophy to remanage or reorganize or restructure our economy model in Iraq. It was applied by His Excellency Minister of Financing and approved by the cabinet. Iraq for the future think that he will be the good partner for investor from outside, especially from well famous and well noted like British and Arab commerce. Thank you to welcome us in that, and we hope this meeting or this conference will be more valuable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Can I turn now to His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Jassim, the Minister of Agriculture.
لا أنا حترجم لايف معنا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
لايف as much as I can.
خبير المهندس محمد كريم جاسم وزير الزراعة العراقي.
His Excellency Minister of Agriculture in Iraq.
العراق بلد الخيرات، بلد الرافدين، بلد الزراعة يعني.
Iraq is the great country of the river of Rafidain and the agriculture land.
نحن مسرورين بوجودنا في بريطانيا يعني.
We're delighted to be here in the UK.
أول قانون أسس أرسن داون سنة 39 في العراق للاستثمار في القطاع الزراعي.
The first law been introduced in Iraq in 1939. It was agriculture law.
ومن فترة 1938 إلى غاية 1960 العراق اكتفى زراعيا وصدر وفق هذا القانون الذي أصدره أرسن داونسون يعني.
And between that time until the 1960s, Iraq managed to be self-sufficient in agriculture and exports goods as well.
العراق بعد مر من عام 58 إلى غاية 2003 تحت نظام شمول اشتراكي يعني.
Since 1958 until 2003, Iraq went through a different type of law, which is the Shumul law.
بعد 2003 العراق تحول إلى اقتصاد حر يعني.
Iraq had been converted to a free trade country after 2002.
ضمن ورقة الإصلاحات اللي قدمتها الحكومة العراقية في الوقت الحاضر يعني. ومنها ورقة إصلاح القطاع الزراعي.
And one of the papers or one of the initiatives that Iraq provided is the agriculture basically vision.
كان أهم مبادئه هو أخذ أكثر من الفقرات الخاصة بقانون الاستثمار اللي عدى أرسن داونسون يعني.
And one of the main points were the investment sector or investment point of that.
وهو تشجيع الاستثمار وفق أسلوب الإنتاج الكبير.
And it's the encouragement of investment and depending on the big market of Iraq.
وتمليك الأراضي للمستثمرين الزراعيين.
And allowing others to purchase land in agricultural land in Iraq.
وتشجيع دخول النشاط الخاص في القطاع الزراعي.
And again, encouraging investors to get into the agriculture sector in Iraq.
وخاصة في الصناعات التحويلية.
Especially in the manufacturing sector of agriculture in Iraq.
وإنشاء محطات الأبقار ومشاريع الدواجن.
And the cattle industry as well in Iraq.
فرصة طيبة لدعوة القطاع الخاص في الدخول في الاستثمار في العراق يعني.
اتفضل ما سمعتها تاني.
فرصة طيبة لدعوة القطاع الخاص للدخول في النشاط الاستثماري في العراق يعني.
His Excellency is inviting all the private sectors to come and invest in Iraq at this time. It's a great opportunity.
شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you very much. شكرا معليك.
Thank you, Your Excellency. May I now ask Dr. Soha Dawood, who is, as I mentioned before, the head of the National Investment Commission, if she would be kind enough to address us. Thank you.
First, I'd like to extend my thanks to the Chamber for hosting us today. This trip comes in a opportune time because, as everybody knows, we're going through very tough times in Iraq today, especially on the economic side. As my colleague, the Excellencies, mentioned, we've just produced the white paper, which is the first proper reform-oriented document that's realistic, that's written by specialists, and most importantly, written by people from inside Iraq who understand the challenges that we're facing today. As far as the Investment Commission is concerned, this paper is quite crucial because it highlights the need for the Iraqi economy to diversify. And as you all know, that we're relying on my colleague to pay our salaries. Iraq is in a very tight financial position today, and it's very crucial for us to, one, diversify economy to sustain growth in the long term, to provide job opportunities, because we do have, unfortunately, high unemployment rate. But most importantly is to emphasize the role of the private sector, because the government shouldn't and can't be the sponsor of the economy forever. And unfortunately, because we remain the sponsor of the economy, even after 17 years of transformation, that model is not sustainable anymore, and we'll be looking for the private sector, domestically and internationally, to support us in this transformational era that we're entering. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I invite you, Baroness, to say a few words now.
Well, definitely. Thank you, Baroness. Well, I would like to thank our distinguished guest for coming today. It's a great honor to have you all here. I think Iraq is one of the biggest countries in the region, and tremendous opportunities are there. And I think it's time, as you mentioned, to come out and to seek new investors to enter the Iraqi market. Today's challenges are tremendous. It's not only the economic challenge, it's so many different type of challenges. But being here today, all of you physically, it shows how much Iraqis are willing to go outside and to open doors and to seek new real opportunities and to support these type of opportunities. And again, I would like to thank His Excellency the Minister of Oil, His Excellency the Minister of Agriculture, and Dr. Soha is the head of the National Investment Commission of Iraq. Thank you again, and Baroness, back to you in the Q&A session.
Yes. Well, the floor is now open to anybody who is watching this webinar to send questions into us here in the Arab British Chamber of Commerce. But perhaps whilst we are waiting for some of those questions to reach us, I might ask Dr. Sohar Darwood, you were talking very persuasively about diversification of your economy and wanting investment into the private sector. If you were giving somebody direct advice over which parts of the private sector would be most needing investment at the moment, so if you, could help us a bit with prioritizing what is needed. We've heard from His Excellency the Minister for Oil and the Minister for Agriculture, but if you wanted, for example, obviously agriculture is important to all of us, but are there any parts of your economy which you would say to us as Brits, look, you're in an odd position now as British people, we're not quite sure what's going to happen over Brexit, and we still aren't. I've been in Parliament today, and we talk a lot about Brexit at the moment. And of course, we've all got this very great problem of the awful COVID-19, and we're all doing our best to protect everybody with that awful pandemic. But there are opportunities in Iraq, and how would you prioritize them? What would you be saying if you've got a lot of investors in the room at the moment? Well, I'd look at this and I'd look at that, and this is how I would prioritize. Thank you.
Today, it's important to explain the situation in Iraq today. As I mentioned, we have a singular sector economy where we rely on oil for our income, for our revenues, for our GDP. And we want to diversify. So the end game for us is to have a diversified economy with oil, with agriculture, with industry, with services. But before we get to this, it's important to understand that the past 17 years, and actually not 17 years, we've been going through wars and political instability for decades. This situation has taken its toll on the infrastructure. So I would say the first thing we start with, and the first thing that we really need today, is investing in infrastructure. Because without sufficient infrastructure, we cannot achieve our goal of diversification. Because if you want to build factories, if you want to build banks, if you want to expand the agricultural sector, we want water, we want electricity, we want sewage, we want roads. So the thing, and I'm saying, maybe it's not maybe, it's the things that we need as an economy today. We want, as a first step, investment in infrastructure. And infrastructure would be a good, let's say, entry for investors, first-time investors, to come into Iraq, because a lot of it comes with some kind of government financing, even though we're moving away from this. But some of it also comes with offtake agreements, like power, for example, and possibly water. So the first thing that we would look at as a safe investment, it has large tickets, the counterparty will be the government, is infrastructure investments. And again, I will emphasize power, water, and transportation. This is quite important at the moment, but in parallel, we can start on smaller steps on other sectors. The agriculture is probably the most advanced outside. يعني أكثر سكتر متطور عندنا القطاع خارج قطاع النفط هو الزراعة. And we're actually quite self-sufficient now in a number of agricultural products. And we have an excellent minister who is really willing to take it all the way in terms of letting the private sector come in and work with us hand in hand in developing this very important sector. Agriculture is important because it also employs a large number of people, which is also a priority for us. So if I am to classify it and prioritize, I would say infrastructure. And then outside that, we really need everything. We need investment in agriculture. Iraq is just a virgin market. So really, I would say everything. Iraq is in need of lots of things today. And that's what we need. It remains to investors to decide what is the size of their ticket, what sectors do they want to come in, but there's plenty full of opportunities.
May I?
إذا ممكن أكمل يعني نحتاج شراكة في صناعة المكائن والحاسدات، ونحتاج شراكة في صناعة منظومات الري بالرش المحوري والثالث. يعني عندنا بنية تحتية في وزارة الصناعة جاهزة، تكون الشراكة القطاع الخاص هناك مع وزارة الصناعة، وأيضا هذا ضمن خطتنا لعام 2021 بإنتاج الساحبات والحاصلات. وعندهم شركة فورغسون من أفضل الشركات بالعالم، شركة فورغسون بإنتاج الحاصلات والساحبات من أفضل الشركات في إنتاج، وممكن أن تكون شراكة مع وزارة الصناعة حتى مع وزارة الزراعة يعني مباشرة في إنتاج الحاصلات والساحبات، ويكون الإنتاج محلي وتجهيزه مباشر للمزارعين، وكذلك منظومات الري بالرش المحوري والثابت يعني.
His Excellency, the Minister of Agriculture, was emphasizing the need of private investment in the agricultural sector. The things that in this specific sector are in need of are companies that would manufacture the equipment and for irrigation systems. And these two were willing to have partnership by the government and under the Ministry of Agriculture. So we invite companies to come and set up operations in Iraq in partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture. And His Excellency mentioned the company called by the name of Ferguson. Yeah. Yes, we're in particular keen on this company, and we invite them to come to Iraq and enter into. And Iraq has been in partnership, let's say, and had a relationship with this company since the 1950s. So if through you or directly, we can invite them to come to Iraq to set up a partnership. Partnership in like, you know, a contract or even like, you know, a joint shareholding company with the Ministry of Agriculture for the production of irrigation systems and equipments.
Well, that's enormously encouraging that you want to see British investment, and you mentioned particularly, obviously, one of our leading agricultural exporters in Massey Ferguson, as you say, a relationship since the 1950s. Can I ask you, perhaps through you, if I may, Dr. Soha, do you, we have quite a lot of expertise in what we term the public-private partnership, and what you are describing seems to me to indicate that that is the sort of partnership that you would welcome. Perhaps you could confirm and expand a bit on that point, the public-private partnerships.
Currently, there's a draft law that's being discussed by Parliament for the PPPs. But let me elaborate on that a bit. We can still work before this law is passed, because PPPs is really a concept rather than a law. It's like public-private partnership.
Exactly.
And anything under that, even if it's a joint shareholding company, even if it's a contract by the government, that is a PPP. But I think the PPP that your Baroness referring to is mostly infrastructure-related PPPs. And that's exactly the type of things we're looking for. And in private investment in infrastructure always comes under a framework of private-public partnership, either through a concession, a long-term concession. That's one form. Another form is what my colleague, His Excellency, the Agriculture Minister, mentioned, is a partnership between the ministry and the company. And again, you know, it's very important that we know that we do have all forms of agreements implemented today. We have PPPs in the form of agriculture and concession in the power sector. We have joint stock companies that have been in place since the 60s and 50s. We have operation O&M agreements between some governments, some ministries, and private sector investors. So any form of PPP today, I can show you a live example of that. So let us not be held back that, you know, there's a law that hasn't passed yet. And I think, Baroness, you're referring again to particularly on the mega projects, which is something that we really need, and the framework is there. And these are the kind of stuff that we'd like British investors to come and consider. And the counterparties, in most cases, will be the government, so it doesn't get really safer than that.
No, absolutely. One of the, I beg your pardon.
شركة فورغسون مجهزة العراق من أصل 5000 ساحبة 1000 ساحبة. الآن لو أقامت الشراكة هذه الشركة شركة ماسي فورغسون للساحبات والحاصدات. بعد وزارتنا ما تعلن مناقصات، حتكون الدعوة دايركت إلى هي مصنعة وهي مجهزة يعني، فتكون مصنعة داخل العراق حصرا لكل صناعتها لوزارة الزراعة العراقية، ونحتاج إلى أكثر من 5000 ساحبة خلال سنة واحدة يعني لتجديد، لأن عمر الساحبات كثير جدا أكثر يعني.
His Excellency just offered a very, very generous offer to Ferguson. Today, the company provides 1,000 out of 5,000 trucks that are used in agriculture in Iraq, which means it's a market share of 20%. If the company is willing to come and have this partnership with the ministry, this partnership and the contract will reward it without a tender process. So this will be, we're almost like eliminating the competition for the company, given its current market share and the historic relationship we have with it. So it'll go directly through His Excellency the Minister, and he'll negotiate the contract without the need of offering the opportunity in a tender. Of course, yes, and of course, but that is not just supplying the trucks, that is coming and manufacturing the trucks in Iraq. So that's not just for exports, but setting up a local operation in partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture for the manufacturing of those trucks. And currently we need 5,000, and the need will grow, of course. So it's a huge opportunity.
Tremendous opportunity, and we will, I'm sure that you have been talking about this possibly directly to Massey Ferguson, but we will certainly do everything we can to support that.
أنا مالك ساحبة فورغسون من عندهم، عندي تواصل معهم. نعم يحجون وأنا عندي تواصل، بس يعني طبعا هاي دعوة لهم يعني من خلالكم يعني.
Okay.
So talks with them, but of course he's like re-emphasizing the message.
We'll be honored to open this discussion with them directly and put you in link. This is our job, and we'll keep you updated. هنفتح الحوار معاهم ونحطكم في تواصل مباشر معاهم.
جيد.
ونكون في الواسطة يعني إن شاء الله.
May I turn to another point where country may be of value relationship, and that is in transport generally, because obviously for countries to function well, we need infrastructure in our transport system, and I wonder what opportunities. We've spoken about agriculture and delighted to help as much as we can. But I wonder about the transport links, roads, railways, and other forms of transport, whether that is something that you think is an important link that we could try to forge with British companies with Iraqi counterparts.
Yes, to all that, because transport is crucial. I'll give you an example. In my previous capacity, I worked with a number of companies who were setting up operations in Iraq, and one of the main challenges they were facing is finding the transportation network, proper, adequate transportation network to their premises and for distribution within Iraq. And unfortunately, Iraq suffered physical attacks during the past decades, which kept our transportation system in a very weak situation. So we need roads, and we're considering currently the toll road system to offer it for investors. We're still debating this internally, whether this model works for us, because we're not used to paying for our roads. But outside the road system, most of our airports need rehabilitation. We don't have an effective rail system or a metro station. But I mean, and of course, yes, we need all that, and we need buses. We need public transport desperately. But it is important that this comes with a disclaimer. These are multi-billion projects.
Yes.
So it is important for whoever is considering this to consider the financing aspect of it, because Today, we're not really in a position to fund multi-billion projects in Iraq. We have priorities now to meet our expenditures. We have priorities in providing power and water, which are, I mean, transportation is basic, but there's more basic services that we're in need of. So if you can come up with a magic formula where you can come and upgrade our transportation system with your own money, I'm sure there's going to be lots of rooms for British companies.
دكتورة ممكن يعني أواصل قطاع النقل في الزراعة يعني طبعا قطاع مهم جدا يعني ممكن الحديث مع وزير النقل لأن عندنا الناقل الوطني هو اللي متحكم في نقل الأسمدة عندنا من البصرة إلى كل المحافظات أكثر من 400 إلى 500 ألف طن سنويا إضافة إلى موضوع نقل المحاصيل من البصرة إلى الموصل من الموصل إلى البصرة. احنا عندنا طرق الهايوي سريعة موجودة هسه في الوقت الحاضر من البصرة إلى طرابيل يعني وهذا خط دولي موجود يعني فممكن إذا يتقدمون الشراكة مع وزارة النقل في هذا الموضوع ويحدث طفرة في القطاع الزراعي يعني خاصة إن يعني حقيقة لأنه هذا الموضوع مهم وممكن أتكلم مع وزير النقل بهذا الجانب يعني.
I want to take my hat off to our agriculture minister. He's a real businessman. He's offering you another deal today, which is the transporting. We have something called a naql al-watani, which is a local transport or a local bus system, the national. His Excellency was mentioning that that transporting thousands, literally, of tons of agricultural inputs and outputs throughout Iraq is crucial for the agricultural sector to maintain its operation, but also to prosper. So what this will be a joint operation between the Minister of Transportation or Ministry of Transportation and Ministry of Agriculture to find a transportation network, and I'm talking about the equipments and the trucks to move those goods within Iraq. And this also will be another form of partnership with the private company and the two relevant ministries.
That, again, is in... well, that's what we're here for, is to try to do everything we can to encourage trade between our two countries. There's some questions coming in from our webinar audience. One of those is, does Iraq have any plans for renewable energy, such as solar energy? Iraq has experienced, I'm told, a very hot summer in recent years. Can Iraq do anything to turn this to your advantage by more use of solar energy? I think that's directed to His Excellency Mr. Ihsan Al-Saadi.
احنا عندنا بالسنوات الأخيرة تقدمنا في الزراعة وفق منظومات الري بالرش الحديثة والتنقيط يعني على الأراضي الصحراوية. وفي الأراضي الصحراوية ماكو طاقة كهربائية فما عندنا بديل إلا الطاقة النظيفة وهي الطاقة الشمسية يعني. فالحاجة ماسة إلها يعني على مستوى آلاف الآبار عندنا في المناطق الغربية والمناطق الوسطى زرعت بواسطة المنظومات الري بالرش المحور والثابت فبحاجة ماسة إلى الطاقة النظيفة وهي الطاقة الشمسية يعني.
Sector because we're conducting in the ministry irrigation for massive areas, and these are mostly in the desert. So therefore, the connectivity to infrastructure and power is scarce. So the only option for these to work and to power the irrigation system and the modern irrigation system is through solar panels. So we need solar energy and solar power for the sector, for the agricultural sectors in massive areas.
Well, that's very helpful because we've also had a question asking about the needs in the water sector because of its importance for agriculture.
If His Excellency, the Oil Minister, elaborate more on the solar energy.
Yeah, we try to go with the mixed energy in Iraq. We did in the Ministry of Electricity license round 2. It was to build solar energy plants in Karbala and Baghdad and El Samawa. The biggest one was small, 250 megawatt, and it is now under commercial evaluation. That it should be the first license round, inshallah, in the way to be executed by, I think, Norwegian company. We in oil and gas sector, we are very interested in carbon emission mitigation and changing our methodology from just oil and gas energy to mixed energy. So we issuing new philosophy for that with our IOCs. You know, in Iraq, the biggest IOCs work in Iraq: BP, Eni, ExxonMobil, Chevron, something Total, and CNBC, Gazprom, Lukoil. So the biggest IOCs working in our field as partner under TSC contract. We issuing our new restriction or organization about go ahead with solar energy and renewable energy to achieve the target of carbon emission mitigation and decarbonize of the energy 2050. There is positive response from some of the company, but our target is to reach this goal.
Yes.
And inshallah, Iraq plan to reach 10% of its consumption of electricity from the renewable energy. Iraq plateau is to reach 40 gigawatt in 2025. Now we reached 30 gigawatt, 24 from national producer and 6 from private sector. So the answer is yes. Iraq is headed to the solar energy and renewable energy.
That's very encouraging. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I've got a question here from somebody again who is watching this webinar. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Do you wish to say something?
Yeah, thank you very much. I am
course.
Mushtaq Sultani, the Iraqi consul in London. Just want to ask His Excellency, the Minister of Oil, about do you think that the OPEC cut or the decreasing of the Iraq share with OPEC affected the situation in Iraq, or the financial situation in Iraq affected positively or negatively? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Really, no one can say it is not bad affected Iraqi economy. But the idea that it is not OPEC cut, it is the oil price fall down due to some conflict in some big producer in OPEC and OPEC Plus. It started produce more and more oil to the market, and after that come with COVID-19 and lockdown in India, Europe, and China. So when Iraq committed to OPEC cut, it is not because we respect OPEC and OPEC commitment, but the idea that international market for oil and gas affected by COVID-19, the main driver for the economy now is the abandonment and COVID-19. Inshallah, if there is a recovery of COVID-19 under IEA, inshallah 2022 Iraq will return, 2022, 2023 Iraq will start return to its capacity of production.
I have here a question that's come in actually about the COVID pandemic. The question is, when might it be possible for for a trade delegation to visit Iraq. I very much doubt anybody's going to be able to say anything very definite, and we certainly can't know when restrictions are going to be lifted in this country. But I think the question indicates that there is an appetite amongst British traders to visit Iraq when the current conditions permit. And I hope that the ministers will take that on board. I've also got a question here asking whether investors need to find a local partner in order to start any enterprise in Iraq.
In general, no. And if they come to the National Investment Commission, they can conduct a project on their own. They just need to establish a local company. So that's in general. I would let the respective ministers answer that question with regards to their field.
عندنا قطاع حكومي واللي طلبت به الشراكه مثل فورغسون وغيره، وعندي قطاع خاص زراعي متمكن ممكن يصير الشراكه معه في محطات الابقار، في صناعه الدواجن، بالبنيه التحتيه. عندهم اراضي زراعيه وعندهم امكانيات متوسطه. المالكين هم وهم المستثمرين، وممكن من خلال القانون 13/2006 اللي اصبح التعديل لازم ماله انه يشاركون، ومسموح للشركات الاجنبيه أن تشارك مع العراق في إقامة هذه الصناعات التحويلية. يعني إحنا موجود عندنا كثير من المزارعين، اتصلت بهم قبل ما أجي لهنا، يعني يمتلك 50,000 دونم 20,000 دونم، عنده هذه بس ما عنده الإمكانية المتكاملة. يعني هذا راح يوفر له أولا أمان للمستثمر الأجنبي، يعني راح يكون هو مسؤول على أمانة، يعني مسؤول على الإجراءات المالية والإدارية مع هيئة الاستثمار. يعني فهي الشراكة ناجحة من يمنا، لأن احنا ضامنينها كوزارة، يعني في موضوع الصناعة التحويلية، في موضوع صناعة الدواجن، في موضوع محطات الأبقار. المستثمر من يكون شريك مع محلي عنده أرض زراعية متعاقدة مع وزارة الزراعة، مجرد تعشيق العلاقة. يعني
السؤال هنا هل هو التزام، هل هو لازم يكون عنده شريك محلي؟
لا مو شرط.
مو شرط يكون
مو شرط.
من الافضل انه يكون شريك محلي،
من الافضل حتى يامن على ماله،
ولكن هذا مو شرط.
On behalf of Agriculture and His Excellency Mr. Ihsan will talk about oil and gas. The answer is no, you don't need a local partner. But given that agriculture is a very local activity, it is best to get in partnership. And frankly, I say it is best to get in partnership. It's not obligatory, but Iraq is a special country. So we always say that it's best to partner up with someone who understands the challenges. And in the case of agriculture, the right partners would be the ministry and the Ministry of Agriculture through its companies. But also there's lots of reputable private groups that are active in the agriculture sector with large spaces of land that they can partner up, but it's not a condition.
Thank you.
دكتورة يعني بس أكمل لها، يعني احنا الآن في موضوع صناعة الدواجن نستورد ب 13 مليار من تركيا وإيران، يعني مليار دولار، يعني بس دواجن بيض، يعني لحم وبيض. 13 مليار دولار نستورد من إيران ومن تركيا. يعني الآن 50% من خلال الشركات العراقية سدت هذا النقص، يعني هذه السنة. يعني الصناعات الخاصة في الدواجن بإمكانهم أن يدخلون إليها، يعني وهذه إنتاجها سريع خلال سنة أن يتحقق. يعني لأن حماية المنتج المحلي حيكون الشريك للمزارع العراقي لصاحب الأرض الزراعية ممكن خلال سنة أنه يتحقق إلى أرباح على مستوى الأرض، لأنه هو راح يدخل بحماية الإنتاج المحلي. يعني إذا يدخل كشريك مع عراقي في إنتاج صناعة الدواجن، يعني هذه أهم فقرة عندنا. يعني
His Excellency, His Excellency speak about how he can protect the investor production in Iran. He have a commitment as Minister of Agriculture to work with the UK investor as national investor. Iraq till now imports eggs and kitchen with $6.5 billion per year from Turkish and from Iran. It was 13 billion. Now it is 6.5 billion. Ministry of His Excellency committed that if there is any real investor from British side, he can build its own or its joint venture with Iraqi private sector to build its facility for that. It is fast-track solution, fast-track revenue, because within 1 year maybe he will start to produce and pay back his investment, and he will be open to work with it as national investor, not as foreign investor. He will be under the law of protect the national production. And that's very important for Iraq. When anyone included in this law, he will be safe from any export.
That's enormously encouraging.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I know that the Secretary General would like to ask a question.
Well, thank you very much for the updates and clarifying so many different issues. But my question would be to Dr. Suha. What are the guarantees and incentive to invest in Iraq? I mean, whatever we heard is tremendously great, and I'm sure there's a lot of British companies are willing to come and invest in Iraq. But again, what kind of guarantees for their investment and what kind of incentive the Iraqi government are willing to give?
I will respond on behalf of Iraq still is a greenfield country. Iraq now is 40 million population, 2.5 growth percentage every year, 7% growth in energy. No any foreign investor come to Iraq and Iraq didn't take care about it. Yes, there is risk they have to take. Let us speak about BGC. Basra Gas Company is joint venture between Shell, Mitsubishi, and SGC, South Gas Company. They produce dry gas to electricity and produce LPG for local consumption and cooking. And they produce also the naphtha. Even with the shortage in cash, even with the economy disaster in Iraq pay back all the bills. When they produce the dry gas, they send to the power generation. Ministry of Electricity couldn't pay. Ministry of Finance, since 2013 till now, 7 years, there is no any accumulated bills against Ministry of Finance. For this 6 months, within this crisis, Iraq paid to Basra Gas Company, to Shell, more than $700 million. This is a good message that Iraq respects the foreign investor, and even for BP, Eni, ExxonMobil, you know, every month, we pay for the investor more than 600 million as payback for the investor in oil and gas sector. And that's it. Yani, we cannot say we will. We already did. Yani, we already did with the foreign investor in Iraq.
So this is a message for all the sectors, Your Excellency, not oil and gas.
For all the sector, no one
Excellent.
Iraqi as a government, believe me.
Excellent.
Iraq
message.
respects the foreign investor more than the local investor.
Excellent.
Iraq try to keep the foreign investor happy more than no foreign investor. You can now find some local contractor. He have a claim against Basra governor, Ministry of Planning, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Municipality, because they didn't pay to them. But there is no foreign investor didn't have his payback.
Thank you. That's very encouraging.
إنه إحنا جاي نستثمر يعني جاي يعني نحترم المستثمر الأجنبي أكثر من المستثمر المحلي.
حقيقة.
وما جاي يجون.
لا هو أنا أريد أسأل
On
سؤال
that,
يعني.
Just to wrap up on that, I urge whoever wants to invest to look into our investment law number 13 for 2006. We offer tax breaks for 10 years. We offer duty exemptions for inputs if they are not available in Iraq. We offer facilities of, we provide the land and we provide the infrastructure, a part of it, but is also of entry visas, and all those exemptions are mentioned in details in our investment law.
Dr. Suha, is that through you in the Investment Commission? Quite a lot of questions coming in about whether you would be something like a one-stop shop in the National Investment Commission, or do investors have to go to a particular ministry if they wanted to do something in agriculture, to the Agricultural Ministry, or would it be that you, as the Investment Commission, act as a one-stop shop?
دكتورة سهى، بالنسبة لي أخذ أجابه وبالنسبة لي جاوبت. بالنسبة للاستثمار في القطاع الزراعي أنا مسؤول عليه. مسؤول أي مستثمر يجي يعني في على مستوى البنية التحتية، الصناعات التحويلية وصناعة الدواجن. أنا عندي 15 موافقة دائرة قطاعية جاهزة كاملة، لأنه العقد هو بموافقة 15 دائرة قطاعية، بقى بس موافقة العقد الاستثماري وموافقة الوزارة. فبالنسبة لي وزارتي حكون يعني 90% من هاي الروتين اللي موجود في بقية القطاعات ما موجود في وزارتي، يعني منجز يعني. فأنت عهد على كلامي، يعني موجود، يعني أي مستثمر يجي. بعدين احنا نحب البريطانيين، هم يعني ما يحبون يعني.
انا حكيتها من ساعه، قلت له هذا حب من جانب واحد.
اي لا طبعا يعني
والله
انا نحبه، انا حتى من جهه يعني كثير من المستثمرين العراقيين يعني. وانا ورقه الاصلاح مالتي كلها اعتمدتها على ارسن داونسون، يعني العراقيين يحبون البريطانيين، صادقين في عملهم يعني. فاحنا نحبهم خليه يجونا يعني.
نحبك والله نحبك.
نحبك.
As far as agriculture is concerned, they'll have to go to the Ministry of Agriculture to get the sectoral approvals, which for any agriculture project they will need 15 approvals from the Ministry of Agriculture, and His Excellency the Minister guaranteed that these will be facilitated. We give the final license, but maybe I'll take a couple of minutes to explain how things work in Iraq. For investment projects, they either get funded by the budget or by the government or as investments. Unfortunately, there's a mix-up of the concept of investments in Iraq today. People who come in as contractors consider themselves as investors. So if it's a project that's offered by one of the ministries, they'll have to go to the ministry, and this way the ministry funds it and it comes out of the budget. So that way it goes out, because it's not, I don't really call this investments. This is just you get into a contract, whether it's a supply contract or construction contract or whatever type of contract with the government, and that's, as I said, it's a contract. For investments outside the government budget and outside oil and gas, because oil and gas have their own investment process, which is outside the National Investment Commission. But outside that, if investors want to come in and put their money in a project, we are the one-stop shop for that. So they come to us and we do everything for them. And we license them.
That's very clear. Thank you. The Secretary General would like to put a question, please.
Thank you. It's not a question, it's more than a request from them. As the Arab British Chamber of Commerce, we'll be delighted. I mean, we work hand to hand with the Iraqi embassy in the UK. We thank them for that. They're doing a tremendous job, as well as with the UK Trade Agency. And again, we are opening our doors and arms today with the approval of Their Excellency and Dr. Suha as well, to be the focal point of the Iraqi delegation today for any further inquiries or requests in their behalf. And we will be delighted to forward that to them or to the concerned party in terms of investment, oil and gas, or agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
وزيرة الزراعة البريطانية، فكان لقاء مثمر جدا يعني في هذا الجانب يعني. وهي قالت لي خالي يعني.
قالت لك شنو؟
خالي يعني احنا مازحنا، فيعني هم يعني اوسط السفارة يعني تواصل معايا في موضوع الاستثمار وموضوع الدخول في القطاع الزراعي يعني. وكانت الوزيرة شجاعة في هذا القرار يعني.
Excellency had a very productive meeting with his counterparty, the Minister of Agriculture, the British Minister of Agriculture, and they discussed lots of opportunities and were very encouraged by that meeting.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. We've got a lot of enthusiasm in the questions that have come. I think we're running close now to the time, but they haven't just come from big investors. We've also got SMEs who are very keen, and I suspect that this is where you, Dr. Sohar, will be very much able to help SMEs who want to do some business startups in Iraq. Great. Ladies and gentlemen in our audience, thank you very much for joining us this evening for what I hope you have found to be a helpful exchange with our friends and the ministers from Iraq. May I, on your behalf, thank the ministers and Dr. Sohar for their presence here and wish you all well. Thank you very much for your patience with the latest start that we had, but I know that it was a very worthwhile discussion that we've had, and I thank you all for your participation, and I thank our guests from Iraq wholeheartedly for their presence here, and we hope to do business. We certainly do. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.